Hello and welcome to Arsenal Above All. This time last week, we were all still in recovery mode following the drama at the Emirates. This week, well, it was a bit of a nice kickabout down the Thames with the boys, wasn't it? One of the best first half performances under Mikel Arteta was enough to take all 3 points and restore our 5-point lead at the top of the table. The Champions League qualification just gets a step nearer. Joining me tonight is regular Neil Shah. Neil, how you doing, my friend? Give me a second, just get you on board.
There we
are.
How
you doing, sir? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too very well. Been under the weather this week, but I'm trying to. I've tried to make a special appearance for the pod here, so I couldn't miss it.
Yeah, the boys are trying to get your spirits up, mate.
Yes.
Well. So thanks for coming on again. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.
And we have a special guest with us tonight, a big gooner, and it's Mr. Glen Oglaza. How you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you. I like your slug there, Neil. Champions elect. Sunny optimism. That's what we like to see.
Good stuff. So, yeah, it was quite a emotional a couple of weeks or a couple of days, I should say, to be an Arsenal fan, and it kind of continued on Thursday night, where we got involved in a little bit of a like a basketball game, following the 2-2 draw with Sporting Lisbon. In the Europa League, there was obviously, as we know, there were 6 changes to the team. We were back at full strength today, and just if we can touch on that first half performance with you, Glen. We've been privileged to witness some great performances over the years from Arsenal. Very privileged. But how does that first half performance rank with what you've seen over the years?
Oh, it was right up there. It was pure Wenger ball, wasn't it? It was just magic. And we were unplayable. And admittedly, Fulham weren't that good, but we were unplayable. It could have been 5 or 6 by that time. It was fantastic. Absolutely loved every second of it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Going into the game, Arteta was very much about the defensive side and making sure that we kind of keep a clean sheet is very, very important. And it looked like the first 10, 15 minutes, we were very, very cagey. Not so much cagey, just being very cautious, keeping possession. And, I don't think there was any point where Fulham looked like they were going to trouble us. And then we seemed to score the goal, Glen, which was disallowed. And to me, it looked like it sort of, released us from that sort of, bit of caution, especially with the way Trossard, which we'll obviously touch about later, was linking with Martinelli down that side. I mean, it goes without saying what an impact this guy has made, to the team in such a short space of time. Does he remind you of anyone particular like that you've seen over the years in terms of his way he's impacted and what he sort of brings? His game intelligence is probably the thing that ticks the box for me. He just seems to know what type of ball to play. But does he kind of remind you of any particular player? Yes.
Are you dropping hints about Bergkamp by any chance?
Bergkamp.
What a phenomenal signing! What an amazing signing! Absolutely brilliant. And 3 assists today. Fantastic. And they're all really good. He's a great signing. I'm glad we got him and not Mudryk. Because he's Premier League tried and tested, and he just fits Arsenal. He's just such an Arsenal player.
Yeah,
brilliant. Really good to see.
Because he seems to be, Neil, with his age, he's 27, and it looks like he's had a bit of a career. It seems like he's got a bit between his teeth to try and get us over the line, to be the difference, to get us over the line to win the title. I mean, again, what was your take on the first half performance and just the goals that we scored, especially the second one? We'll have some stats about that in a minute.
I was just surprised that normally I don't get many viewers on my channel, but today playing FIFA, I just had millions of viewers watching me play Fulham. It was just unbelievable. And then I decided to put the controller down second half, and we still managed not to concede. It was great. So thanks for watching, Michael and Glen. I really appreciate that. No, honestly, with all seriousness, that's what it looked like. The performance was so good.
Yeah.
It looked like a training exercise at one point. I mean, yeah, I do agree the first 10, 15 minutes, but I think that's only because, and again, this is because of what they've been doing themselves. They're a good side. I think they've surprised a lot of people this season. You know, a lot of people had them as favourites for relegation. You know, they're top half of the league, and they've been doing really well. And the irony is, they're two players missing, two key players missing. One of them being our old player Willian, who has been absolutely magnificent for them. So him not being available with a back injury or whatever it was probably aided us. So I think we probably went into it a little bit cagey just because maybe it was out of respect, possibly, I don't know. And of course, you're away from home; it's a slightly different dynamic. But as you said, after that first goal was disallowed, oh my goodness, the play from all of them was incredible. I mean, you've got Partey, who I think is, oh my goodness, what can you say about Partey? He just controls that midfield like.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I don't know how to describe him. I don't have any words because he's so comfortable. He's so authoritative. He's full of confidence, and he's just absolutely magnificent to see how he can manipulate the whole game in essence, and it just works for him. The other thing that I noticed today was Xhaka. I felt that the last few games he may have had a slight drop off. He was then rested, and I think that's actually done him the world of good because the bits I saw for him today, it's almost back to the Xhaka we were seeing in the first half of the season. I thought he played very well, but you know, it's hard for me not to talk about Trossard. Glenn, I think you're right. I mean, there is touches of Bergkamp in there, but I'd say Santi Cazorla as well, and I don't know if that's the guy that you were thinking of, Michael. I might be wrong. But I just feel that. Glenn, you're spot on. A shrewd signing, just like I feel Jorginho was. I mean, we were going for these two younger players, and it didn't come off for us because of pricing or whatever it is. And I actually think that's worked in our favour because we've got two tried and tested Premiership players with experience, slightly older to give the balance to a very young side that we've got. And I just think that what he has done at Brighton beforehand is now paying and reaping dividends for us. And honestly, the first player ever, I might be wrong about this, I'm sure you'll correct me, to three assists away from home in the first 45. I mean, goodness me. And everything about him, the way he links up with Martinelli, I love it. So basically, they can always play him and Martinelli up front on the right and the middle, on the left of the middle, and they can literally switch in game, and it just works, and that can throw the defense off. You then talk about only a week ago, I think this might have been before air, Michael, that we had worries again. Trossard went off. We didn't know when Jesus was coming back. We don't know what the situation with Eddie is. Oh my God, we got a slight mini crisis at the front, and all of a sudden, bang! Trossard comes in with a stellar performance, one of the best performances probably of his career, maybe in 45 minutes. Jesus comes on. The second coming is back, and he looked as sharp as ever, and everything is ripe as rain. And you feel that the timing of all of this is absolutely spot on. But the second goal, Michael, I think you made a point about it. 23 passes leading up to that second goal. A complete team goal. I mean, as Glenn said, Wenger ball. Well, I think to be fair, Glenn, we now have got to start giving Arteta his credit, and I think we've got to start calling it Arteta ball now, because I think it's wow. What has he done to this team, lads? I'm just in absolute awe. I couldn't be happier, and more to come.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. You know, both of you in terms of Arteta. I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups, and a couple of them are Tottenham fans. And they're just scratching their heads like, what the hell has happened to this Arsenal team who finished below us, 8th the year before and 5th, obviously. And it's Arteta, isn't it? It's his coaching. The players, the way they've identified these players are quality players, but it's his coaching. He's made people like Xhaka play in a completely different way. he's converted Partey into this deep line, this defensive midfielder when he wasn't that type of guy when he was playing for Atletico. People wonder, well, you can't play him there, but he's seeing the game in such a different way to other people. And touching on the goal, the goal, the second goal, 23 touches, 23 passes. Sorry, every outfield player got a touch of the ball apart from Ramsdale. And it started on the left-hand side with Xhaka playing a pass to Trossard, and it finished with on the same side with Xhaka playing another pass to Trossard, who then crossed it to Martinelli. So, as Glen said, it was pure Wengerable, and we seem to have a knack of scoring goals like that against Fulham, because we scored an amazing goal a couple of seasons ago when Ramsey scored like a back heel goal, and that was a ridiculous passing goal as well. But yeah, amazing. So. Either touching on the squad and touching on the man mentioned before, Glen, Gabriel Jesus, who returned a bit earlier than scheduled. We all thought he was going to return on Easter, but like he usually does, but he didn't this time. But what do you think of what sort of layers he adds to the squad, obviously, but especially now with where we are? Obviously, we've got the Europa League to navigate, and then we've got obviously a very important game next Sunday. I was a bit concerned about the levels of performance against Sporting with some of the players that came in. So I was kind of thinking, well, what do we do? Do we put all our eggs in both baskets, or do we kind of focus more to the Premier League? But what angle would you go at in terms of how we navigate these two competitions now? Is it all about the Premier League for you, or do we try and make a bit of history because we've got such a poor record in Europe? But how would you navigate that? What would you think Arteta would like to see him do?
I want to win both, but I think the Premier League has got to take precedence. Of course it has. We want the Premier League, but wouldn't it be great to win the Europa League? And I'm looking forward to Thursday. And I'm not worried. I agree there was some concern over what we saw last Thursday, but I'm not worried. I think at the Emirates on Thursday, with the 12-man us, we're going to beat them. I didn't see anything in Sporting Lisbon that made me think, oh my God, second mate's going to be a problem. I don't think so. And I would like Gabriel Jesus to play that game. I don't know if he did play all of it, but when he came on, got 70 minutes today. I mean, it kind of lifted everybody. Not that they needed him lifting, but he really is such a talisman for us.
Yeah,
he's such a great player. So hopefully he's back to fully fit, and what a great time of the season to have him back just in the run-up to winning the league. Hooray.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's been there and done it, hasn't he? He's been around the block. He's done it with City a few times. Obviously, at this stage of the season, the running, as everybody says, because obviously once we finish the international break, then that's it. There's 10 games to go, and all of a sudden you're ticking off. Some really, really important away games we've got to play. Obviously, we've got to go to Anfield and to City as well. But Neil, would you be the same? Would you want to just focus on the Premier League now as the key one, or do you want to go for both, like Glen?
No. I think every trophy. I mean, I've got on record saying it so many times. Even for me, the League Cup they're all important for me personally, because I feel that it's a very important way of, if say you're successful in one or more, at least it's something actually tangible to show the hard work that has gone on throughout the season by the coaching staff, the manager, the players. And if you've got a trophy, it's almost like, well, there you go. That's what you worked for. You've got it. You've got that. So I've always found that you have to go through all four competitions. I don't see why anything should take a back burner, if you like. However, I have to say, for the first time, I mean, it's been such a hard graft for us over the last few years. The amount of stick we've got from the media, even from our own fan base when it was going pear-shaped, the last few seasons, where there was loads of fractions in our fan base, the hostility in ground between fans, and we've had all of that going on. Everything seemed to be against us, and all of a sudden, and Arteta as well, he was coming under fire because 2 8th places on 2 consecutive seasons. Where is he taking his team? In fact, Emery done better than Arteta if you think about it, and we haven't really progressed at all. And then all of a sudden, bang, he brings in these couple of players in the summer, and the team is literally transformed into more than any one of us could have imagined. You know, I know I've been saying right from when I saw those friendlies, I thought, you know, I think there's something special about this team. It reminds me of the invincible team. And that's why I've been saying from day one, I think we're going to win the league. And, you know, thankfully, we're all in a position to actually believe now that with only a handful of games left, we're at the business end of the season and we're in it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we are the favourites. I don't care what people say about Man City. We are the favourites. But having said that, and it's because of those reasons, and I say this with the utmost respect, again, wanting to win everything. My focus is just on the Prem. I can't help it. As much as, I mean, I'm going to the game on Thursday. And while I'm always excited to go to a game, because it's so difficult to get to games these days, especially now, I still am looking forward more to the game against Palace, which is really bizarre.
You raised a lot of issues there before we went to Palace, Michael. It's all down to Arteta. I've never understood why fans around me boo our players. And now, when they make a mistake, like Tommy Yasu or Saliba, who've made mistakes, we start chanting their name to lift them and encourage them. And that's been a really, really important big change. Yeah. And I just wanted to pick up on the League Cup. I don't care about the League Cup. I don't understand why we have 2 cup competitions in this country. There is the cup. It's the FA Cup. It's ours most of the time. And, you know, actually, my idea of the League Cup is it should be for non-Premier League teams. So give Championship teams a chance to win a cup. Because why do we have 2 cups? No one else does. It's stupid. There's the cup, and it's the FA Cup. Yeah.
It's one of the things that the foreign managers come over and say straight away. Oh, what? They say the same thing as you, Glen. They you know, Pep Guardiola and Klopp have gone on record saying, you know, why have we got 2? We don't understand. We've got 2, you know, domestic cup competitions. I mean, unless they changed it, like if it was like a British Cup or something, then you had all the Scottish teams in it, and then you could have your Rangers against, you know, Man United or Celtic against Arsenal. You know, and that element of it, maybe have it in a truncated form or something like that. But yeah, you know, we've never had a really good record.
It's just a poor man's FA Cup, isn't
it? Yeah. Well, wasn't it brought in because we weren't in Europe for the first couple of years of when you know the English clubs didn't want to go in the European competitions and they created a competition or something like that. But yeah, interested. Anyway, I just think with Trossard's performance today, and Jesus coming back, you know, there's so many options now for Arteta in terms of, like you said, Neil, with the he can play as that false 9 now and offer the same sort of answers to what, you know, Jesus is able to do with his press and obviously his ability to slide people in and do the same sort of work rate or what Jesus does. So I think it just makes the options of going for those 2 competitions a little bit more, not easier, but a little bit more, maybe slightly easier to navigate, you know, rather than before. Because if he was out and Jesus was still a couple of weeks away, then we'll all agree, look, just play B team in that one, see if we get through. If we don't, and okay, we've got 11 games to go, let's load up for that and just go for that. But
what's been interesting is that we've done quite well with that.
I've done amazing without him, yeah.
Well, that's thought, oh my God, you know, we've got Gabriel Jesus, who's going to score the goals and so on. But actually, we've done pretty well without him. So now he's back. We should do even better.
Yeah.
Timing's perfect, Glenn. The timing is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, 10 games to go.
You can imagine all the opposition teams thinking, "Oh my God, they're playing so well, and now they've got Jesus back as well." It's like, and it was so nice to see the cameo because it looked like he hadn't been away. He went back to doing exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
Before he got injured, and to be honest, he had a good chance of scoring.
Yeah, it would be great if he scored that.
Isn't it a nice change that other teams fear us of last?
Yeah.
Yes.
For a long time. And you were talking about Partey earlier, and I think Arteta's trying to mould him as being a new Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the spine of the team. He's got clear vision, Arteta.
Yeah.
You know, how he wants that team to look and how he wants
Absolutely agree with that. I mean, I just quickly to answer your question as well. Sorry, Michael, I got very sidetracked. I got too excited with the thought of winning the Premiership. So sorry. So, I think I think you're right. I think we're now in a position where he can navigate sensibly to also have a good go at the Europa. And you know, I know he won't, I think we've got enough now, especially up front, to even rest Saka. He doesn't have to come on and start that game on Thursday. I think he could probably come on as a sub because I think Nelson's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
I think you can have a mix of Jesus, Martinelli, and Trossard as two of the other three up front. And then, if need be, you can bring on the subs if things are not going well, or Jesus he hasn't got 90 minutes in him straight away for Thursday, or whatever it may be, or you want to rest one or both of Martinelli, Trossard, and then we've got so many different options. Further back, we can mix the defence up. Tierney made a cameo. I think that was quite important because I think he'll start on Thursday. I think Turner will play again in goal. So he's got the ability to mix up the rest of the park, and then rest those key players for a very important and tough game against Palace. Although it'll be at home, I think it's Vieira. Vieira's going to want to have some price, especially. Did he go first team ever to go 3 games without a shot on target?
Yeah.
So
but they'll be back against us. Do you remember a few years ago? When we lost to Palace, I think it was 3-0, and there was a newspaper headline which said "Eagles 3, Butterflies 0," and that's how weak we had become. And not now. Now they're going to fear us. I'm sure.
Yeah. Hope so. I mean, it's glad you raised that about Saka, Neil, because not to be negative, but we on this show we call it as we see it. We don't sort of just rant and whatever like other places do, but I think it was great performances all across the board. The only player that I thought was a little bit off edge was probably Saka. He seemed like a little bit jaded. I just think he's been running to the ground a little bit. I was surprised he played 90 minutes on Thursday. Really, really surprised. He looked absolutely shattered, and he just looked a little bit off edge today. He was getting frustrated in the second half. And again, with Trossard coming back, with Jesus coming back, again, as you said, Neil, the options he can rest him. He can rest him on Thursday. We could even rest him on Sunday if he wanted to. But it's just having the options. I don't want to jinx it, but this is normally the stage of the season when our players get a massive season-ending injury. We get someone that gets a couple of players that gets injured. All of a sudden, the wheels come off our campaign, our season. But it seems like players are coming back. Tierney, and Partey, who perennially got used to get injured at this stage of the season. They're both fit and rearing to go. So I think this point.
Sorry, I'm just going to.
So what was that?
I agree with Neil that I would play Nelson certainly on Thursday and give Saka, as you're saying, Michael, a bit of a rest. Yeah, put him on the bench, bring him on if they're in trouble for any reason. But Reece Nelson's done very well and he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, he's another one who's come in. He's scored. He's getting minutes. He's featured in the last couple of games as well. Had a good run towards the end where he should have. I think there's a couple of instances. Once where he should have had a shot, which he didn't, which is surprising after what he did last week. And then another instance where he turned someone inside out and he just wasn't able to get a crossover. So it just seems like everything's just falling into place. And like I said, when we're so used to things falling apart at this stage of the season, like you said, Neil, we're not butterflies anymore. We're a side that people are starting to fear, and I think people watching that today, especially that first half performance, it definitely reminded me of, like I mentioned to you guys before, the many moons ago in Arsene Wenger's first season, title winning season in '98. We played Blackburn. We were 4-0 up after 40 minutes, I believe, and we absolutely blew Blackburn away. We absolutely, it was devastating stuff. I think Ray Parlour scored twice, and it reminded me the performance. It was really sort of like we dominated the first half. Second half, we relaxed a bit, because the home team kind of had to show up because the fans demanded it and they had to do it for their fans. That's what just reminded me of that, and I'll take this off. I just wanted to show you guys, just to take us back to the old days. Give me a second. I'm just going to show that, move that, and then I'll bring it back.
Memory, it's 25 years ago.
25. Wow.
God, blimey!
Frightening, isn't it?
I had a bit more hair in those days, I think.
So did I. A lot more now. We need to remind ourselves that we're actually well ahead of schedule, and we're still in transition. This was supposed to be top 4 season, and then next season we start winning stuff. So we're well ahead.
And Glen, we're so close to that top 4. That's the elephant room. That's what no one talks about, because we've been so kind of, I suppose, taken away on this tide of winning, actually having the chance of winning the title. Everyone seems to forget we're probably 3-4 games away from top 4.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's. I think what I was going to show you, the slide I was going to show you, we that win against Blackburn, that win took us 66 points, and I think there was about that was our 33rd game in the season. We were at 27, and we've already got what is it?
Wow.
So it shows you what we're doing. It's a record-breaking.
I think Glenn was spot on a bit earlier. I mean, he was talking about the fear factor, and then you come in and say something, Michael. I think there's 3 or 4 fundamental differences. You see, I think sometimes being successful and not is sometimes driven by fine margins. And there have been many seasons, even after Wenger's golden era, where we were in the running and then something happened in February or March. And as you talked about, it just derailed us. And more cases than none, it was the fact that we had key injuries. We lost players to key injuries, and then that's it. Everything fell apart. And in those days, I think in the February, March time, we were actually in the running of all 4 competitions, because those are the days we were in the Champions League every year. We were in both cup competitions, etc., etc. 1 or 2 key injuries, that's it, done. And I think the difference this season, and I think it's high time we got this, as you said earlier, Mike, it's the other way around. We're actually returning players at the right time. We have certainly now shown, as what Glenn said earlier about the butterfly thing, that we're no mugs anymore. Teams actually fear us. How many times did Troy Deeney go on record calling us, cowards or whatever he called us? You had, and then you had the other guy. Who was it? The Evra, the Man United guy, always saying Evra. Boys against men, and all of this stuff. And I think now we're finally shown the whole Premiership that we are not to be messed around with, and we are the real deal. And I think all the teams fear us. And then on top of that, the third factor is the fans. The fans, as Glenn said again, how many times have I been to the games this season, and even the last season it started, where if a player did something wrong, they didn't get on their backs, they're actually cheering their name, they're getting behind them, and that makes a massive difference to the player and to the whole team. Huge difference. The crowd is phenomenal. I mean, you've got the ultras doing their thing. Those 3 or 4 factors has made a massive difference, and I think that is why. I mean, I'm putting Champions Elect, but I've been saying from the start, I truly believe this is in the bag. I think the only team that can beat us now is ourselves, and that's it.
Absolutely. With 5 points, even if we lose to the Attic match, it's still 2 points clear of them. Isn't the Ashburton Army great?
They're amazing.
Fantastic. I mean, I would join in if I was a bit younger. You need it. You get a ground like Palace. There's a group of fans who do not stop for 90 minutes chanting, the Palace, the Palace. We follow.
Yeah.
Now we've got that, and it has lifted the whole stadium. It's not the library anymore. It's a proper Arsenal stadium. Yeah,
it's amazing because because I used to work at the club, and the Red Action were in the North Bank, and they were on that stadium management to try and get something like that. Get drums in and what have you, and they kept on getting pushed back. And I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the pandemic with fans not being in there and having it when they went to return, and maybe they wanted to have something to have people.
I think it's more enlightened management. I think Arteta wants it.
Yes.
They've got to get behind the team. He knows that. I think it's probably again, it's down to him. Where do you sit? Because it's curious to me that it's happening at the clock end, not the North Bank.
It's clock end.
It's happening in the clock end. Yeah, the Ashburton Army in the clock end, but the Red Action before, who were trying to do that, they were on the North Bank. But I think you're right, Glenn, because I think it is down to Arteta, because they always say obviously a manager is a reflection of a team is a reflection of their manager, and you see how Arteta is on the touchline. You know, he's fighting for every ball. He's a ball of energy, and the team obviously are a reflection of him. But with Wenger, you know, towards the end, he didn't even want the PA announcer to announce how much injury time there was. You know, he got to the point where he didn't want that to be broadcasted over the channel because he didn't want that to affect the players. He didn't want them to start panicking and start misplacing passes. So he had that control over the whole situation, which when you look at it, you think, well, really? But that was the case. He didn't mind it being shown on the screen, but he didn't want it to be announced because he didn't want the players to get anxious. He didn't want the fans to start putting pressure on the players with every moment they had. But yeah, you can see with Arteta, he's embracing that whole thing. You know, getting the North London Forever to be, you know, meeting the guy that sang it and everything, playing it to the players. So it's all on him, on and off the pitch. What he's done to this club, the way he's transformed it is unreal. And again, as you said, Glenn, this is we're not even in final form yet. This is just the beginning. You know, this is way ahead of schedule. We all, I know Neil. Well, when we had our predictions at the start of the season, Neil said, you know, we're going to win the quadruple, but I you know, obviously,
I said we're going to win the league.
I said, you know, top four. You know, let's get in the top four. Let's get you to take the steps, get back in it. Let's see what that level is like, and then go again. But obviously, anything else is bonus. But man, you know, Premier League titles.
You know, Arteta's learnt from Pep, and it's the master and the student and all that nonsense. They forget that he learnt from Wenger. He was the club captain. He learnt so much from Wenger and from Pep. You know, not at all. I mean, he got a lot of valuable experience, but you know, but the passion is his own. That's him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Player. You know, he's learnt from two world-class managers, two, not one. You know, not many people can have the benefit of that. But absolutely spot on there, Glenn. Also, there's another third element. It's him.
Yeah.
Because I know that even when he was a player, there was talk that the other players really respected his intelligence of the game. So this was even before he began his coaching badges.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think Wenger has said from an early start that if he decides to go down that route, he's going to become very, very good.
Yeah. And not only at Arsenal, but even before that, when he was at Everton, do you remember? He was such a good player.
Yeah.
He was a midfield general. He was the one who saw it all, you know, and pinged in the fantastic passes. And when he came to Arsenal, he was very, very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty special when we're we're living in some, you know, great moments for the club, and you know, just hope the best is the best is yet to come. But hopefully, obviously, we've got obviously the second leg on Thursday. We've sort of, you know, discussed how we think or what we would like to see in terms of the rotation. But we'll finish off with just a little bit more chat on Sunday, and just obviously what our hopes are going to be. Obviously, going on to towards the end of the season, and if it is a successful finish, you know, what are the odds on one of us getting a ticket for the Wolves game, which apparently are going for like £5,000 apparently at the moment. So we'll talk about that in a second.
I know people.
Sorry, Glenn. I didn't want to cut you off there in your prime.
Yes. I'm a season ticket holder, as you guys.
Yeah. So you're
cannot get a ticket, and they go on. You know, they go onto the system, bid a ticket. 5 minutes later, they tell me they're on sale for hundreds of pounds. I mean, I don't know what we do about that, but it has to be stopped. You know, the idea of paying £5,000 to go and see the Wolves game.
Yeah, it's insane. I think I don't think the tickets have even, like, the general sale tickets haven't gone on sale yet. But there's a website that is actually showing that they're available, and they're available for £4,999, which is insane, because obviously people are putting, you know, doing the maths and saying, okay, that could be where the trophy lift is. But But yes, on Sunday we play Palace. We may or may not have an old legend to welcome, Vieira, depending on what happens to them midweek. I think if they lose to Brighton quite heavily, I think there's a chance that he could get sacked, especially with what they've been doing in terms of not having a shot on goal. Glenn, what do you think? What, obviously a lot of it depends on what happens on Thursday, but are you looking at this game with trepidation, or are you just thinking again we're just going to have too much firepower, too much nous for them, and then go into that international break with an 8-point lead?
Well, there are no easy games. That's the great thing about this league. There are no easy games. Look at Man United drew with Southampton today, and Casemiro got sent off.
Yeah.
Look at Man City, only just straight past Palace with a penalty. So there are no easy games. So I don't enter any game with trepidation, but I do think we have to be at our best. We're going to win.
Yeah.
And we can definitely beat Palace at home. I'll be shocked if we don't. But we've got to be at our best. We've got to play like we did today.
Yeah. Yeah. You see what happened with Bournemouth and Liverpool as well. Mighty Liverpool, who was supposed to be back, and we were getting it in the next saying, how can you celebrate beating Bournemouth, bottom of the table, Bournemouth 3-2 at home, and then look what happened. Like you said, that encapsulates everything that you just said. This weekend's results have just encapsulated everything you said, Glenn, in terms of.
We weren't celebrating Bournemouth. We were celebrating the emotion of that incredible last-minute winner after being 2-1 down, and just the kind of, it was so emotional. It wasn't about who the other team was.
Yeah, yeah. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I think we're still in part of our subconscious. We're still recovering from that moment. We've had so many of them this season. We've had so many last minute winners, even against Fulham in the first game early in the season, where Gabriel again scored. Seems to like scoring against Fulham. I think he scored against Fulham on his debut. Scored against them this season, and he scored against them. First game earlier in the season, and scored against them again. So he likes playing against Fulham. And Neil, you're the same with Glen. You think it's going to be? You're probably think we're going to win 5-0, don't
you? What makes you think that, Michael? Come on, you know me better than that. Well, look, I think, as Glenn said, there is no easy fixture in the Premiership. It hasn't been for quite a while. It's not just this season. And then, especially when you're playing a team that potentially could win the league, you want to do even better because you've got a point to prove. That look, I want this. As a manager, I want us boys to get together and give these guys a hard time. Make them, if they're going to win, they're going to have to beat us. You don't just lie down and make up the numbers. And we're gonna make them work for it. And if we can actually win, we've got the bragging rights over those teams that maybe weren't able to beat them. And I think that makes it even harder for us now, especially with the 11 games or the business end of the season left. All the teams we play, or the remaining games we've got, they're all going to be gunning for us. They want to stop us. So games which ordinarily would have been tough are going to be that much harder. So I think it's going to be a tough game. But as we spoke about earlier, the fact that we've been blessed with the return of Jesus, Trossard thankfully isn't a long-term injury that a lot of us may have been thinking. Mm-hmm. He actually looked sharper than ever today. I think he's actually probably one of his best games for us. That's the irony of it. And even Smith Rowe's on the bench. He could even play on Thursday, which could even rest a further player for the game on Sunday against Palace. Yeah. So I think Arteta's going to be quite cute with his changes for Thursday, which will then reflect on what he does against Palace on Sunday. I don't think we need to worry about what happens to Vieira or what may not happen. I think we've just got to go with the fact that it's going to be Vieira, managing them. We can't start thinking, if it's a different manager, that's going to mean that they're going to up their game for the first game under a new management. And We just play our own game. We just get our heads down, play the ball to feet, quick passing, do exactly what we did today in the first half against Fulham, and we should be fine. And I think if we get a quick goal, we will probably hit 3 or 4 against them. That's what I think.
I hope they don't sack Vieira because I think we've also got a massive soft spot for him.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Hero, legend, etc. So I hope he does well in management.
Yeah. I just think Yeah, not against us. Yeah, it just seems to me Palace. They just seem to have a lot of individuals in their team. They don't have any sort of like teamwork or whatever. You look at us and we're the complete opposite in terms of how everyone's fighting for each other. I think with Palace, they seem to turn it on when they want. And I just think, obviously, game against Arsenal at the Emirates, they'll a couple of people that have not done the business may turn up, but I think teamwork should outdo any individual will want to do. We can't have a show without discussing VAR, Glenn. We often mention it a lot in these shows, and it seemed like we got stitched up again. I mean, some people said it looked offside. It looked pretty close to me, but it's funny. It seemed like as a team, we were like, okay, all right, you've done us again. We're gonna we're gonna do we're gonna score some proper goals now. And it just seems that Neil says we've got 11 more matches to play against. We've got 11 opponents in the Premier League. We've got another one. We've got 12. We've got the officials of VAR, because I'm sure there's going to be situations where something dubious is going to happen again. We've lost so many points from them this season. I mean, I know you mentioned it a couple of times on your tweets and stuff, but most people think it's not fit for purpose and it needs to be completely ripped apart and be more transparent. But what do you think?
It's only as good as the people operating it. I was so pleased when Mason got sacked, because that was outrageous. And today's one, I mean, it looked on side. I thought the Fulham defender of the far end of the pitch was playing him on side, so I didn't really agree with the lines. I thought they would have slightly strange angle. But it's only as good as the people operating it. I mean, you've got rubbish referees, you've got rubbish VAR as well. But having said that, I so well remember the number of goals we used to get ruled out for offside when they really weren't. And you play it back, on the video, and you see it, and you say, well, he was offside, but he would get struck off. So I'm sort of, I think goal line technology is great, and if VAR would only work better, I'd all in favour, but it isn't working very well, is it? It's people operating, it's not very good.
Yeah. Let's see interesting to see what happens. I think they're going to do something with the timekeeping as well, Neil, where they are going to, do the same kind of thing which they did in the World Cup. So, if game has to finish at 100 minutes or get 10 minutes injury time, that's going to happen now. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Because I think when you go to, I think apart from today, which is funny enough against Burnt Leno, I think our last 4 opponents in the Premier League, I think that all the goalkeepers have been booked because of time wasted. I think it's either the last 3 or 4 or last 4 out of 5 matches we've played in the Premier League. A goalkeeper has been booked in relation to time wasting or something like that, which is it just shows you. And normally those bookings are late in the second half, which means there's no point booking him anyway because it doesn't stop anything. But yeah, Neil, I know you go to the games a lot. Obviously, when you go, but yeah, it's something that needs to be sorted out. Obviously, it can be too late for this season, but next season,
it's been too much. It's been a common thing this season, especially. I mean, the games I've been fortunate to go to, you notice it more when you're there, because when you're watching on TV, it's a slightly different perspective. But when you're there, you see the moment the goalkeeper gets the ball, and he's just don't know what he's doing is, and then all the crowd start getting upset, saying, "Release what you're doing," and all the profanities come out, and you really see it. And I think in the last few games for us, their antics have actually worked against them, because we've scored in 2 games. We've scored in injury time, so good, because that's karma as far as I'm concerned. So in a way, it's worked against them. They're trying to time waste. They're trying to do all these kind of this gamesmanship, if you like, and it's gone complete opposite for them. It's backfired, and we've got last-minute winners. And that's 5 games on the spin to make us 5 points clear. That's wonderful. But you're right. I think something's got to be done. That was quite weird when you're watching some of these World Cup games where, wow, there was like another. Was it the first few games all literally made an entire half just from injury time? Something really ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The games were going to over 100 minutes, some of them.
Yeah.
But if that's what it takes, and if that's what it takes to stop this stupidness, then I'm all for it.
Who's timekeeping in World Cup? Was it the referees, or did they have a separate timekeeper?
I think it was the referees, but they just it was Kalina. I think Kalina, the old referee, he's in charge of the referees, organisation for FIFA, and he basically was the one overseeing that. So it was a referee, but I've always said there should be independent timekeeping. The referee shouldn't have anything to do with timekeeping. They should stop officiating the game and whatever, what have you. Shouldn't have to worry about what time going on there, but that should be done independently.
I agree. Yeah,
I've always said that, and it's a bit like in rugby where it's done by someone separate from the referees, and then when it's the time, it's the time. That's it. It's not at your discretion. We're watching it. That's our job. Our job is to make sure we know that enough. Because you people are spending stupid amounts of money, maybe even £5,000 on ticket, and they're watching maybe 50 minutes of football, of ball in play, which just scrambles my brain really. That teams, your Newcastle's, like the game, what we played, after World Cup break, still thinking about that, the way they turned up and played that game. It was shocking. They just didn't have any intention of playing. They were just going for set pieces and long balls and stuff. And people are going there to watch the ball in play for like 50 minutes. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, hopefully this will change it. This will get people for more value for money. But no, that's
sorry, just one thing as well, Mike, before you wrap up. I mean, again, going on the back of what Glenn said about VAR and what you've actually been saying from day one. I think Glenn's right. I think number one, it needs the right people behind it for it to work. The fact that they've got goal line technology spot on, I don't see why they can't get VAR spot on as well. But the other important thing, which is something you've advocated from day one, Michael, is that the fans, the viewers, have full transparency of what is being said between the referee and the people in the VAR office.
Yeah.
Because we are not privy to that. Yeah. And I think that would make a massive difference if we could hear the conversation between the two. And I don't see why they can't do that.
Can you get it in rugby then? Yeah, I think you do. And the rest
you can hear it when you're watching it. Yeah, you can hear the conversations. You can hear the referee all the time. Yeah.
Up and you have that we've seen language. Can I just ask one thing before we go?
Yeah, sure.
Gary Lineker at all? Are we on his side? Because I am.
I am. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, 100%.
100%. I just think it's if it was a 180 and if he'd agreed with the government, match of the day would have went on as normal. Everything else.
And it's different when you work in news and current affairs. I worked in news, and we had a little rule which was quite sensible. Don't tweet anything you wouldn't broadcast. And that works if you work in news.
Yeah.
If you work in sport and you're talking about an issue, it just does not apply. And look at all the people who do it. Alan Sugar does it all the time. Jeremy Corbyn and Nick Lynch. Jeremy Clarkson does it. There are loads. Prue Leith, who's a cookery presenter who's very pro-Brexit. There are plenty of people who do it. Absolutely ridiculous. Did you watch Match of the Day last night?
I couldn't. It was weird.
They called it Premier League highlights. They didn't play the music.
No.
It was 20 minutes long. No commentary because the commentator.
So weird, wasn't it?
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I quite like it. Blah blah blah. It shows they play. It lasted 20 minutes, which shows just how much blah blah there is.
With most people just fast forward through to their team's games anyway, or whatever. Mainly, but no, you're right, Glenn. It's a bit of nonsense. It's a perfect distraction to what the government are trying to impose and bring through, and everyone's having like selective outrage on it. On what he said.
It was great when I stopped doing news because I could give Trump both barrels. He's not been able to do before.
Because you used to do a lot in America, didn't you? You used to do a lot of reporting in
but I was a political correspondent, so I had to be really careful.
Yeah. But absolute nonsense, and I don't know how it gets resolved because obviously everyone's siding with him. Do you think they're going to back down or?
Yeah, I think they have to. What else can they do? Excuse me, but the chairman of the BBC, Tim Davie, was a Conservative councillor in Hammersmith, a failed Tory candidate. The chairman's been, helping Boris financially. I mean, it's just ludicrous.
Oh, it's frozen.
Let's see how they cannot back down. What I would do if I was ITV or Sky is I would hire Gary Lineker and nick Match of the Day and put it on at 10:30 every Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll watch this space. Yeah, see what happens. But we know what side of history we're on, and hopefully that'll get us all resolved, and that nonsense, and people should be allowed to say what they want to say, as long as it's not hate speech, as long as it doesn't break the law, then that's absolutely fine. But no, it's been a great chat, gents. Thanks very much for your time. This Sunday evening. Glen, Oglaza, thanks very much. Really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. And when you do get to the ground, obviously roar the guys on to create this bit of history that we're all watching in front of our eyes. And Neil, thank you so much again for your time, my friend. Like I said, this is a special season. We're watching history in the making, and isn't it great that we can we record it in this fashion, and maybe put in a time capsule, so 100 years from now, you see these three debonair gents talking about mighty Arsenal. So thank you very much for your time. We'll be back probably after the Palace game. We'll have a bit of time to talk about things, because obviously the international break, and hopefully it's after a nice progression to the last quarterfinals of the Europa League, and will hopefully see us 8 points clear at the top of the table. So that's all. I've been Michael Harris. This is something I normally do, Glenn. He has been Neil Shah, and he has been Glen Oglaza. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks for all the support and the retweets and the subscriptions. Really appreciate it. Really, really enjoy doing this and talking to great gentlemen like the two that you can see. So all that's left to say is all the best, and up the Arsenal.